IamExpat.de has a great guide to writing a CV, and I asked Abby, who has been on the podcast before, to come on the show and give us an explanation about it. First of all, I think the biggest question is, what should be in a CV? What are Arbeitgeber, or what? I can't remember the English word now. Employers.
Recruiters.
Yeah. I've been in Germany too long.
Yeah.
What should they? What are they expecting in a CV?
So with a German CV, it's not hugely different from what you expect anywhere else. But I think there are a few things that maybe are slightly different to what you might be used to in your home country. And getting it right is really important, because if a recruiter sees a CV that's not exactly in the style that they're expecting, it's going to end up in the bin probably, which is unfortunate. But it's important to know that English-speaking jobs in Germany, even though they are out there, there is very high competition. So making a few kind of small changes can have a really big impact on how well your job search does. And recruiters commonly flick through hundreds and hundreds of CVs for a single job. So yeah, it's very, very important to get it right.
Yeah.
So I would say probably the main difference, especially, so I'm from the UK and we like to do a lot of small talk and bumble and waffle a lot into things. So the biggest shock for me was that CVs in Germany are just facts. Like they don't like buzzwords or business jargon or embellishment on your skills. It should be a very, very simple fact sheet, which lists your education, your experience, and a bit about you. So in terms of a structure, the probably most common one that people would follow is to have a section that just includes your personal information. So yeah, the obvious things: your name, your date of birth, your nationality, and some of your contact information. Get your phone number right. I have in the past put the wrong phone number on a CV, and I managed to get the job actually, but it took them a while to get in contact with me. So that was not my proudest moment.
No, that's maybe a warning signs for an employer if someone can't get their phone number right.
I think that I'm actually quite surprised that they even tried to track me down. I would not, but yeah. Another thing that's maybe different, we don't have this in the UK, is the passport size photo. So it's quite common to attach a photo to the top of your CV.
I found that very strange.
I think it's weird as well.
So weird.
Very weird.
I believe that you don't have to. It's not like some people opt not to do it. But I think generally the practice is most people, when they're filling out their CVs, they do include the photograph. So I think you probably want to put one on there regardless of how you feel about it. If you're looking for a job, it probably helps to have it on there.
Yeah, I find it quite strange, but it's sort of a normal thing to do. And so sort of not attaching a photo might be something that makes your CV stand out, and not necessarily in a good way. But unfortunately.
Or if you're sending your CV with your photo attached and you're not getting any offers, maybe remove the photo and that will help.
Oh yeah, maybe. Or ask someone else for their opinion of your photo. Or maybe use a picture of someone else just to trick them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe on that photo point as well, I think the important thing to remember is it should be a professional shot as well. It shouldn't just be Facebook drinking with the friends, having cocktails on Friday night.
Yeah, no, keep the beers out of the picture. Maybe
there we go. That's the quote for the episode. Keep the beers out of the picture.
Keep the beers out of the picture, So then moving down the CV, the second section is going to be about your education. So the most important things to include in that would be details about your secondary and higher education. So if you went to university, where did you go and what program did you study? People sometimes also include information about different modules that they took during the course of their degree or at school that might be relevant to the position. So but again, the most important thing is to keep it relevant. So if you're applying for a job as an accountant, they're not interested in your drama, class that you did at undergraduate level. But things that are pertinent to the job position, then it's always worth throwing in. And if you won any prizes or whatever at university, then you could also list that there. But keep it to the point. And then your third section is about work experience. So normally you would start with your most recent position and then work backwards in chronological order. I think it really depends on how you want to do it. Some people will literally keep it very, very factual. And, these are my responsibilities in all of the jobs that I did. I've heard another sort of way that you could try it is more of a skills-based CV. So including within your work experience, kind of the skills that job used.
Yeah.
Or there are other versions where you can kind of outline your main achievements in the role.
Okay.
Things that you're proud of. But again, I think the most important thing for the work section is to keep it to the fact. So this was my job, this was what I did, and this is what I achieved. They don't want to hear, I'm the best salesman this side of New York, or
the Germans don't like that.
No, won't go down well.
Yeah. I had the most success with CVs that were really, when I was sending them, I was thinking there's not enough information on there, and especially in this work section where it was literally just a bullet point where I said, this is what I did in this role. And it was a few words. And those were the CVs that, for me, worked the best. So clearly they like the brevity.
I've had the same experience. I used to have a very wordy CV. I'm a writer. I'm quite a wordy person, and I wasn't getting much success. So I scaled it right back and I cut it right down to literally the bare bones of the facts. And from there, I've had a lot more responses, because I think it's sort of letting your skills and your experience speak for themselves. You don't have to dress it up if they're good enough and you're good enough for the role.
Yeah.
And I think again, it's about thinking again the fact that they're scanning multiple CVs at once, and so if it just looks like a big solid block of text, personally I wouldn't read it.
No.
I would scan it. You'd scan it. So it's sort of helping their eyes. So yeah,
I think as well, what you're trying to do with a CV is just give them things that they want to talk to you about. So it might be that the less information that you provide, the better, because they see the point and they go, oh, I'd love to talk to them about that, because that could translate to something good here in this job. So I think just rather put bullet points that will entice them to want to know more, rather than give too much information.
100%. So then there's a final section that you can add onto your CV. Again, I would see this as an optional section. So it's a kind of opportunity for you to list any, they call it the other skills or achievements, and in German Sonstiges. So it's a kind of a list of all of your other qualifications, achievements, or anything that's relevant. Not like, I love windsurfing and I like going to the cinemas on Wednesdays.
I love books about the sea and long mountain walks.
It's not. I don't think. I've heard that German CVs generally think that personal hobbies and interests, like, they don't care.
Yeah.
They really couldn't care less. So instead, sort of, I would focus on things like computer skills. I don't know if you've done a coding course, language abilities, if you've got a certification, maybe the fact that you have a driving license, things like that maybe would be best, rather than your hobbies, because no one cares.
No one cares.
I'm afraid. Your friends and your family and everyone cares, but
maybe
the hiring manager, the hiring manager does not care about your hobbies or your pets,
unless it's directly related to your job. Of course, that's I think pretty obvious, because for me, for example, if I'm in content marketing and I have a blog or a podcast, let's say, hypothetically speaking, that might be of interest to content marketing. So
definitely,
that's different. But generally, if you like stamp collecting, or you go look for butterflies on the weekend, no one cares.
Unless it's a butterfly collecting job.
Unless it's a butterfly collecting job.
You know what it is? Butterfly collecting jobs.
In which case, I don't think you're going to have too much problem getting the job, because I should imagine there's not too much.
Not much competition.
No. In fact, that's the advice from this session. Just look for butterfly collecting jobs and put that in your hobby collection.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, but we digress. The question is, do you write this in Germany? Do you write the CV in German or English?
That's a very good question. I would say if your language ability is up to it, if you speak good enough German, and especially if the job description is in German or you're likely to be working in German, do it in German, because, you don't want to make it stand out in a bad way, like I've said.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if it's an English-speaking role, or the sort of job description might call for your CV to be in English, and then it's perfectly fine to write it in English. I think the other thing to consider as well is you don't want to give a false impression of your German language ability. No. So if it's obviously much easier to at home spend a long time perfecting the German on your CV and send it off. But then when they call you up for an interview and you can't even respond to, what's your name?
Yeah.
It might be seen as misleading the hiring manager.
Yeah.
So I think, especially even if it is an English speaking role, generally in German, having German language ability will give you an edge over other candidates, because it's the language of business, even if companies are starting to adapt slightly more, and there's still starting to be a bit more English language, jobs and things. Generally, being able to speak German is a good thing, and showing that off in your CV is a good thing.
Yeah.
But you don't want to mislead anyone or give the impression that your German is flawless when it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. What I've done
it's a hard one. Yeah. I think
it's tough.
It's tough.
Because you want to impress them, you want them to understand what you're writing to them, but like you say, you also don't want to mislead them. So it's a difficult decision to make.
For sure. Like my German is good. I can work in German, but I never feel as comfortable expressing myself in German as I do in English.
Exactly.
And when it's something like with your CV or even cover letters, you're trying to. It's personal, and it feels difficult to try and do it in another language. But I think if you can, do.
Yes.
If you can't, do.
There we go. That's it. Good advice. What I've done in the past is kept my CV English, but generally you have to provide a cover letter that covers specific aspects of the job and kind of just motivating why you're applying and so on. That I have done in German in the past, but in that letter, so I've had a German help me write it so that it's grammatically correct and so on. But in that letter, I state my German is not good. So, but I stated in very good German that someone helped me with. So that kind of I've done that. That worked. That was my first job. I think I got my first job with a German cover letter. But since then, I've actually kept it English. But I have the advantage that my work has always been in English. I kind of write blogs and make YouTube videos and so on, and that's all in English. So yeah, that's fine for me. But I think it also depends if you're applying for a German job and your German is not that good, you might want to put the cover letter in German so that they understand and they know what the deal is. And yeah, what other tips do you have, Abby?
Ooh, okay. So I think my main things would be to keep it factual.
Yeah.
So get rid of the waffle, get rid of the fluff. It doesn't help. I think keep it as streamlined as you possibly can. So some people tend to put all of their jobs down from, the after school job they had delivering newspapers right up until the present day. So sort of 10, 15, 20 years of work experience isn't helpful. Just sort of streamline it with the ones that are relevant to what you're applying to.
Yeah.
Keep it short. Again, I don't think any longer than 2 pages. If you can keep it on one side, that is brilliant, but 2 maximum, I would say. No one's going to scan through more than that. Try and make it visually appealing as well. It's weird. So actually, interestingly, for the last couple of years now, I've been on the other side of the table in terms of interviewing and scanning CVs, and it's been like the most eye-opening experience ever.
Imagine.
Going through CVs, and it's weird how, I guess it is a personal thing as well, but some of them you look at them and you just think, I don't want to read that. It's bizarre, and I never thought that it could make such a difference, but it instantly makes you sort of not like the person. But you see, I've seen so many different CV layouts, and some people get really, really creative with it. I think there's a lot of websites where you can use templates and just make it visually appealing as well. We mentioned this before, but bullet points are much better than paragraphs. Yeah. Again, people's eyes are lazy. No one wants to read long blocks of text. Yeah. So bullet points are a really nice way of breaking things up. And also, it's obviously a bit more time consuming, but having everyone obviously has one kind of generic CV, but I would recommend adjusting it slightly for different roles that you apply for in order to highlight certain parts of your experience and skills, to really tailor your CV and the same way you would do with a cover letter, do it to your CV as well to make it relevant to the job you're applying to. And the most obvious one, but one that you might forget about, is to be careful about typos and linguistic errors. Double check it, triple check it, quadruple check it, and then get someone else to check it as well, because nothing looks as sloppy as having a typo in the first line. or forgetting to put your own phone number down correctly. So I should have taken my own advice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting what you say about the visually appealing. What would turn you off instantly when you do? You have an example of when you look at a CV and you see it? Is it like that they've used different fonts, or that the information's everywhere?
Yeah, having a lot of different. So either having all of the text exactly the same and kind of like squished up, so there's no paragraph breaks,
Right.
or using bold to sort of separate sections, and like almost the way you would do with like headlines and then subtitles and things like that, to just break it up a bit.
Yeah.
I've seen CVs where the background was blue and all the writing was white, which was you instantly go, oh my god,
Yeah.
like that hurt
I
my
can't
eyes.
deal with that.
Or ones that have, I think some people do try and use sort of super jazzy formats to try and make it stand out from the rest, but sometimes it really doesn't work. So I've seen ones as well where kind of there's a sort of bar of information all down the side, which works well with the kind of personal information. But then they had it in kind of like 4 blocks on a sort of vertically orientated page, if that makes sense. So it was like landscape, and then they had 4 blocks. So it was just too much going on. It looked very like busy. I think the kind of cleaner and tidier it looks, the better. You don't want to sort of assault people's eyes.
No.
With it.
You're kind of walking a tightrope, because you do want to make it stand out visually, but you also don't want to go to the other end of the extreme where you're turning people off because your formatting or your whatever is out. So keep it as simple as possible, I guess, but just try and it's difficult, but get feedback from people around you. And also, if you're sending out that CV to 10, 15 different companies and you're really getting nothing back or just rejections, then it might be time to take a look at a different format and just try something different.
Yeah. I would say general rules of things to avoid would be jazzy fonts.
Yeah.
So just stick to something normal.
Stick to Comic Sans.
Not Comic Sans, no.
No, definitely. Just to be clear, people, not Comic Sans ever, not on CVs or anything.
Ever. It's not appropriate for any kind of professional life. And colours, like the text should be black.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Good.
Maybe I'm just a square, but yeah.
No, I think that is a very common thing. People are busy. They've got a lot of CVs coming in. They want to get to the point. They want to see what you've got to offer, and that's it. And anything that gets in the way of that is causing problems for you. So I agree. Sure. Keep it simple.
Yeah, and like you mentioned before, we have the CV guide on the IM Expert website. If you want to take a look at, there's more information, and there's also a links to some other websites where you can have your CV checked by professionals. Things like that. So there's lots of resources out on the internet as well
for CVs.
Help. Yeah.
Yes, and there's a lot of other information on imexpat.de as well. So definitely go and check that out. Lots of stuff for expats. Abby, thank you so much for joining and giving advice. I think this was very useful, and hopefully it can help some people.